Without further ado, as was just mentioned by the kind words of my introduction, I am Marc LoPresti. I am the CEO and Chief Market Strategist of Market Rebellion. So my talk today is about the market supercycle that we believe has already begun. We're going to tell you what a market supercycle is, what the indications are, and how to take advantage of that market supercycle and how we do it as professional traders. First, the fun stuff, the disclaimers. I practiced laws for 20 years. I'm a retired lawyer, securities lawyer, was always finance, Wall Street, that kind of thing. So this is not a recommendation to buy or sell a security. This is not investment advice. Do your own homework, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, we're not an asset manager or a hedge fund. We're not asking you to invest with us. What we do at Market Rebellion is teach you to trade, to make you a better, stronger, more capable, independent investor in control of your and your family's financial future. And you place the trades yourself. The other thing that we do is we offer insights into what we see happening in the stock market. Okay, so who am I and why are you listening to me, apart and aside from the fact that I'm friends with Todd? I have been on Wall Street for almost 30 years. I started out, as was said before, on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange as a clerk for a little firm called Lehman Brothers. After that, I traded and learned options on the American Stock Exchange, also in New York City. Then institutional equity sales for Lehman Brothers. Law school, 20 years as a lawyer, always in the space. And retired from law about 4 years ago. In addition to running Market Rebellion, I run a multifamily office that invests on behalf of myself, John, his brother Pete, and a couple of other partners. And if you recognize me, it's not because of the wonderful conference booklet that Todd put out. I've been doing financial television news for about 15 years. I was a CNBC contributor. So enough about me. So what is a market supercycle? A market supercycle, as you see here, is a period of time, typically several years, during which the stock market experiences sustained growth driven by macroeconomic forces. So things larger than the market itself and larger than the trajectory of an individual security. Some of the things that are powering this supercycle, you'll notice, of course, the picture of President-elect Trump here. We're going to talk about that in a second. But aside from the president, there are some things going on here that are powering this market supercycle. Continued GDP growth. I know you all know about that because you're smart enough to be in this room, so I don't have to repeat those statistics to you. Lower interest rates, obviously. Fed cutting. We hope Jay Powell has the good sense to give us one more cut during the December meeting. But the odds are sort of 50-50 on that right now if you look at the futures market, which we do very carefully. Inflation is heading in the right direction. We still have a long ways to go, particularly when you look at top-level inflation versus core, but it's going the right way. And favorable government policies at the bottom, and that one is perhaps as important as any of the others. Okay, let's talk about President Trump. There is not a doubt in my mind that one of the reasons that this market supercycle has begun is because President Trump won re-election on November 5th, as you may have heard. So what happened when he was president the first time? The Dow returned over 56%. There were 126 all-time highs on the Dow during that period. Best performance in the stock market for a Republican president since Calvin Coolidge, which goes back a ways. And since Election Day, we've seen biggest one-day gain in the market in over 6 years. That was on November 6th. Yardeni, this is a market strategist that is very well respected that we follow, is looking for a 66% return in the S&P during Trump's next 4 years in office. And Wharton is calling President Trump the most pro-stock market president in history. And why is that? What's ahead under a new Trump administration? Lower taxes, lower regulation, and generally pro-business policies across the board. But it's not just about President Trump. There are other things happening that would still be happening if the election turned out differently, although not to this degree of strength, and that's technological innovation. And folks, if you think about significant sea changes in technology, the advent of the internet, the dot-com phase, those are things that represent paradigm shifts in how we live and how we engage with each other and how we engage as consumers. There are things that are going on right now that are once in a lifetime, and in some instances, once in a generation, paradigm shifts that are propelled by technology. What are some of them? Shockingly, AI, artificial intelligence, not just the advent of AI in terms of software, but the artificial intelligence ecosystem. There is a change in the energy demand paradigm afoot globally that is shocking. We have a research report coming out, and if you all scan the QR code I'll show you at the end, I'll send you a copy for free, that talks about how the explosive growth in data centers, because of AI catalyzing that demand, is going to cause a change in the energy picture in this country such that we've never seen it before. And if we don't solve the problem, we're all going to have blackouts. I hate to say it, but we know the problem's going to be solved. So why do we call it a super cycle, and why am I confident that it's going to continue? Well, it's this virtuous cycle of money, okay? And we've identified, as you see here, over 50 companies, venture-backed, that are poised to go public, not in the next 4 years, next year. And there's a reason why the financial stocks are performing the way they're performing, right? Have you all looked at JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, any of those stocks since President Trump won re-election? They're on a tear, and it's not stopping. Why? Lower cost of capital, better regulatory environment, friendly pro-business policies, combined with this dam, if you will, of all of these venture-backed companies that have been waiting to go public, but waiting until the water is warm enough. Guess what? The water's warm. So we're going to see a flood of IPOs starting next year. Now that means a lot of liquidity for a lot of professional investors and a lot of individual investors like you and me. Where does that money typically go? I bet you can all guess. It goes back into the market, and the super cycle continues. So this is why we think that there is an absolute, potentially generational opportunity here to invest over the next few years. So how do we do this? We follow the smart money. We have an algorithm and software that looks at every trade, options trade specifically, that's placed during the day. And as John told you yesterday, millions and millions, 11 million quotes per second currently in the options market. So our computer's looking at all of that and telling us, based on how it's been trained, of unusual options trades that are unusual not only because of their size, although that's one of the main indicators, but all of the other things that options tell you. Unlike stocks, right? Stocks are sort of, you're either long or you're short. Somebody's buying or they're selling. That's really all the intel you can get. With options, you get a lot more information. Options tell you a bet that somebody's making to either buy or sell a particular stock at a date and time in the future at a set price, and options trade like stocks with their own value. But that's a hell of a lot of information, right? So we look for, through this algorithm, these unusual trades that are very large in size, are unique because of their date relative to news or a lack of news. And through that, we, quote unquote, follow the smart money. These trades are typically being placed by the largest hedge funds in the world. You heard John talk about some of them yesterday, Point72, Balyasny, Millennium, et cetera, et cetera. And they tell us a lot about the market. Okay, so why do we trade options instead of stocks? Okay, and we actually trade both. I trade both, more options than stocks. The primary reasons, you can limit your downside. People think that options are, as Warren Buffett once said, weapons of mass destruction, yet he's one of the most prolific options traders in the business. And owners of insurance companies, right? When you write an option, it's the same thing as issuing an insurance policy. You can define your risk with options in ways that you cannot with just stocks and equities. And you get a tremendous amount of leverage, which you're going to see in some of the upcoming slides. You can control the right to buy or sell millions and millions of dollars worth of stock with just a fraction of that using options. This is an example at the top of one of our unusual option reports. So if you were in one of our services, I think this is from UOA Pro. On the 6th of September at 1:30, this came out to our subscribers. we saw bullish activity in Tesla. The stock at the time was $214.99, and somebody came in and bought 40,000 of the December 225 calls. Anybody know how much stock that translates into? It's 4 million shares, right? Massive, massive bull call. The stock since then is up 64%. The options, had you taken this advice and entered that trade, not at that size, of course, but bought a lot that was consistent with what your investment account is, you'd be up 440% in those options from then till the 22nd. And of course, we know the party in Tesla didn't stop. Elon Musk, I think, made $17 billion in the 3 days after Trump was elected, in part because, if not entirely, because of what happened to the stock price. Folks came in after that print I showed you in the previous slide, and on the 8th, 3 days after the election, they bought another 44,000, huge, huge trade of the February 290s. The stock was at 37.15. Okay, and we know what happened after that. So we saw this kind of activity, as I said to you, leading up to the election, really, really bullish activity in MicroStrategy and Coinbase, all these crypto-related stocks. Bitcoin, of course, I think it's off a little bit, 96K, if I remember correctly, when I last looked. I see 100 before I'm putting up the Christmas tree, although it depends on how much I procrastinate after Thanksgiving. And the crypto industry in general, going to do very, very well. Coinbase, of course, the leading exchange. This is a fully regulated U.S. exchange here in the United States. We had look at this, folks. On the 2nd of October, we had somebody coming in buying 18,000 and change of the December 165s, okay? Those options between then and the 11th, up 625% in value. The stock up 99. Yep, and we expect that to continue. So, by the way, stocks also go down. Stocks don't always go up, even in a super cycle. So as we tell people in our services, as we tell people in our webinars, and as we tell people from stage in places like this all the time, nobody ever went broke taking profit. So in every one of these trades, if we were in them, okay, and we were in many of them, as soon as we saw significant profit, we either take some off, take half the position off, or what's called roll, which you can do in options, which enables you to extend the bet out in time, take some of the money off the table, reduce your risk. Nobody ever went broke taking profit. Nobody ever went broke being disciplined in their risk. One of our more popular services that I recommend that you consider if you're thinking about joining the Market Rebellion is our 3 at 3. So these are 3 trades every single day. They're selected primarily by John as well as our other analysts. We have 2 versions of the service. One comes with more sort of coaching and mentoring than the other. Trading is hard. Trading alone is even harder. I don't care if you're trading stocks or options. So one of the big things that we do is we try to foster, and I'm really very proud of it, this community of traders, the market rebels, the rebel nation as I refer to it. Okay, so whether it's space, AI, software, or the most pro-stock market president we have had in history, according to most, myself included, a stock market super cycle is upon us. And you are some of the smartest people I know. And the reason I say that is you took the time and made the decision to be here, to expand your education as it relates to your financial health and well-being, and to make a better future for yourself and for your families. Now, if you're not in the stock market and the options market, I will tell you, you're making a mistake. If you're ready to 10x your portfolio, come see us, grab a business card, and I look forward to all of you joining the Rebel Nation. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.